Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are on page 33 of your student journal. And our goal or our objective for the day is today I will organize, represent, and interpret data using picture graphs. So we've been using graphs and we're going to continue that, but we're not going to be using tally graphs. We're going to move on to something called picture graphs. So let's look at our vocabulary. And it says a picture graph is a graph showing information using pictures. So the title of this picture graph is what is your favorite shape? So we have a circle and then they drew two pictures of circles. So the two pictures represent the two circle votes. So instead of doing two tally marks, now we're doing two pictures. For triangle, they drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pictures of triangles to represent the 7 votes for the triangle shape. In square, they drew 1, 2, 3 pictures. So we still are drawing our totals, but now it's pictures again instead of the tallies. And then our two other words are greatest, which means the most or more. So if I look here, I had the most triangles. And least means less, fewer, or fewest. So the fewest votes was the circle. Okay, so let's look at our steps today. And it says, if needed, represent each shape with a picture. So some of our picture graphs, they already drew the pictures for us, and some of them we're going to have to draw our pictures. And then our second step says, answer questions about the graph. Okay, so boys and girls, I'm going to put down my green pen and grab my red pen, which means you can put down your pencil and you're just going to watch for a moment. Okay, so here is my first problem. And my first problem gives me another picture graph about shapes. So it says favorite shapes in room 1. And the choices that the students had were rectangle, circle, or something called a hexagon, a 6-sided shape. So let's count how many people chose rectangle. 1, 2, 3. So the total for the rectangle was 3. How many chose circle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And how many chose hexagon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this time I didn't need to draw my pictures because they were drawn for me. But I did need to add up my totals. And now let's answer some questions about our graph. So it says, which shape is most popular in room 1? So which shape here had the most votes? And the most votes was the circle shape. So I can look how they spelled circle, and I can copy it from there. So the circle had the most votes. Which shape is the least popular in room 1? So it has the less or the fewer. So look at my totals, and that was my rectangle. And again, I can use how they spelled it to help me spell it if I don't know how to spell it. So rectangle had the least votes. Okay, boys and girls, I'm going to do one more with you before we do some together. Okay, so let's look at this one. This one, they gave me a whole bunch of shapes mixed up here, but they didn't draw them in my picture graph. So I'm going to have to actually draw them. So the title says Shapes in Leo's Shape Box. And he has triangles, rectangles, and circles. And they're all mixed up. Now, so I'm careful. What I want to do is cross them off when I count them. So I'm going to start with my triangles. And I'm going to look here for my triangles. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So I need to come down here and I need to draw them. 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. And the total was 4. Okay, my next shape is a rectangle. So I'm going to come back up here and count them and cross them off when I count them. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 rectangles. So I'm going to come down here and draw my 5 rectangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my total was 5. Okay, now let's count how many circles we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I want to make sure that I got all my shapes. Okay, so let's come down here and draw my circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And because there's a lot, I might want to count them to make sure I didn't misdraw one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now my picture graph is made and I can answer my questions. So my first question says, which shape does Leo have the least of in his shape box? So the least, the fewest, the smallest. So let's look at my totals. And my least shape was triangle. So I can copy the word triangle here and write my answer. Okay, how many shapes does Leo have in all? In all means they want me to add up all the shapes he has. So I can count how many shapes he has, or I could add my numbers. So I could add 4 plus 5 plus 10, but if I don't know how to add those, I can just count all the shapes. So I could start here and count them. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Leo had 19 shapes in all of his box. Okay, so boys and girls, we're gonna do some together now. So I'm gonna grab my green pen, which means you need to pick up your pencil. And we are on page 34. So turn your book to page 34, and let's look at our first problem together. Okay, so our first problem, what do I see? I see a picture graph about something called geometric shapes. And I see they already drew the pictures for me. So I just need to count the total. Okay, ready? So let's count. This is called a cone. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so everyone make sure they write 7 with me in their book. Okay, now let's count our next shape. This is called a cylinder. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so make sure you wrote your 4. This next shape is called a sphere. It's like a ball shape. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now that we have our totals, let's look at our questions and we can answer our questions. So our first question says, which two geometric shapes have the same number of votes? So which two shapes had the same number? Well, I see that cylinder had 4 and sphere had 4. So those are the two shapes that had the same number. So I'm going to use how they spelled it here, and I'm going to write those words. So my first word is called a cylinder, and my next word is called a sphere. Okay, and remember, if I'm going too fast, you can stop your video to get your words caught up with me. Okay, my next question says, how many cones are there in all? So how many cones were there? So let's look at our word cone, and my total of cones was 7. So my answer for cones is 7. Okay, boys and girls, we have one more problem we're going to do together. So turn your page to page 35, and this is what you should see. Okay, this one we're still talking about shapes. Our title is Shapes Found in a Toy Store. But this time, they didn't draw them for us. They put them all in this big box kind of in a mess. And they still have the same shapes. They have cones, cylinders, and spheres, but we have to draw them. Now, some of these shapes are a little bit tricky to draw, so don't worry about having them be perfect. We're just going to draw them the best we can. Okay, so our first shape is a cone. So let's count them, and when we count them, let's cross them off. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We counted 9 cones. Okay, so now we have to draw 9 cones. And it's going to be like a V with kind of an oval on top. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's put a 9 there. And if you need to pause your video to draw your cones, please do that right now. Okay, our next shape is called a cylinder. So, and if you don't remember what the cylinder was, you could look back here and see what it looked like. okay? So our cylinder looks like this. It looks like a can. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I counted 7 cylinders, so now we have to draw them. Okay, they kind of look like a rectangle, but they're a little bit more round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's make a 7 for our total. Okay, our last shape is called a sphere, and that was our ball shape. So I have 1, 2. So I'm just going to draw a circle, and I'm going to put a 2. Okay, all right, so now that our graph is done, we have some questions we have to ask. So which shape was found the fewest times in the toy store? Which shape did they find the fewest of? Fewest means less or least. So if I look at my numbers or my pictures, I see sphere was the fewest. So I can use how they spelled it and copy it down. So a sphere was the fewest. Okay, which shape was found 7 times in the toy store? So which one was 7 times? Was my cylinder. So again, we can use how they spelled it and write cylinder. Okay, boys and girls, your teacher's going to have you do some problems on your own. Have a good day. Bye-bye.